Hello, you are tuning in to the English News Bulletin brought to you by VTV International. You're with me, Minh Hằng, and our headlines for this hour. President joins thousands in tribute to Hung Kings. And U.S. veterans returns to Vietnam for a journey of healing. Our top news for this hour, President Trương Tấn Sang and thousands of people gathered at the Hung Kings Temple in Phú Thọ province today to mark the beginnings of the Hung Kings Festival. The festival is held on the 10th day of the third lunar month in honor of Vietnam's traditional founders and its first emperors. President Sang, together with other parties and state leaders, offered incense at the temple on Nghĩa Lĩnh Mountain. Also this morning, Chu Ngọc Anh, the chairman of Phú Thọ Province People's Committee, gave a speech about the efforts and achievements of the kings, the foundations of Vietnam, and the contributions of subsequent generations. Organizers said about 2 million visitors were expected at the temples during the day, with total attendance expected to top 6 million during the 6-day festival. Now, the 10th senior official meeting of the Mekong sub-region countries Assam 10 on anti-human trafficking measures opened in the Cambodian capital of Phnom Penh this Tuesday morning. About 200 delegates from China, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam attended this event, chaired by Cambodian Ministers of Women's Affairs Ung Kantha Phavi. Assam 10 represents the determinations and solidarities of regional countries in tackling the issues of human trafficking. Earlier, an initiative for Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, China, and Myanmar to collaborate in implementing anti-human trafficking measures were started in 2003. Assam 10 will conclude tomorrow to prepare for a ministerial level meeting regarding human trafficking due to take place on April 30th. On to some economic news. The State Bank of Vietnam recently requested all banks to ensure smooth transactions and demand for payment during the holiday, during which the country is celebrating the 40th anniversary of Southern liberations and national reunification. Accordingly, credit institutions are required to assign on-call staff during the holidays to maintain service quality and meet customers' demand for any banking transactions. ATM machines also need to be operational so as to fulfill the customers' demand for cash. Now, GDP growth in the first quarter of this year recorded at 6.03%, to which FDI enterprises contributed 60%. According to experts, the economy has been recovering, but this trend might not be sustainable. In the following report, we'll listen to some of the arguments from experts.
According to the General Statistics Office, GDP growth in the first quarter of 2015 was 6.03%, the highest growth rate since 2011. It indicates the signs of economic recovery. Economic experts say that there are several reasons for this situation.
Many enterprises have overcome difficulties in 2014 and expanded their business. The FDI sector has also developed further. Despite low prices, the agriculture sector's contribution to the entire economy has increased. The recovering real estate market and increasing demand in general are also indicators of GDP growth. Economic policies have been improved and shown good effects. The government has enforced this policy more strongly, thus helping to raise their effectiveness in economic development.
In spite of the high growth in the first quarter, experts still wonder about its stability. The FDI sector contributed 60% to the economic growth and has advantages when competing with domestic companies. Therefore, economists urge for better solutions to help domestic companies improve their capacity and competitiveness.
Domestic enterprises have low competitiveness compared to FDI companies. Thus, it is difficult for the economy to grow sustainably. In 2015, Vietnam will be more integrated into the international markets. We should boost administrative reforms to restructure the economy. Domestic enterprises should be the leader in sustainable and modern technologies. Since the 1990s, Vietnam has made progress in digital technology, and it should follow up with investment in this area.
According to the International Monetary Fund, the Vietnamese economy is expected to grow at 6% in 2015. After seeing the results from the first quarter, domestic firms can be more positive about the business environment. However, they know that they still need to improve their capacity to compete with FDI companies and grow more sustainably.
Now, the war in Vietnam ended 40 years ago, but the remains of hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese soldiers haven't been found, while over 1,600 American soldiers remain missing in actions, or MIA. Vietnam and the United States have collaborated in fighting the missing soldiers over the last 40 years. This collaboration has greatly contributed to the relations between the two nations.
This American soldier remains missing in action from the war in Vietnam. For 40 years, his sister has worked for the National League of Families of American Prisoners and Missing in Southeast Asia. All is tracking the latest updates on the cooperation to find American soldiers' remains. She understands how this collaboration has contributed to two-way relations.
That cooperation has increased tremendously, and in particular the last few years. I mean, it's very clear that this issue, the accounting for American personnel missing from the Vietnam War, served as the bridge between the United States and Vietnam.
This ceremony has taken place on a regular basis at Vietnam's airports for many years. As of April 2015, the remains of 130 Americans have been repatriated from Vietnam.
Chúng ta đã làm cho người dân Mỹ.
We have showed our humanitarian trade to the U.S. For the American soldiers who brought war to Vietnam, we are doing our best to bring their remains back to their home country.
In return, the U.S. has been supporting Vietnam to find hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese soldiers' remains by information sharing. The two-way collaboration has somewhat relieved the remaining pain of American families and further strengthened the bilateral relationship.
Now, in the following report, we'll meet a U.S. veteran who has returned to Vietnam 17 times to seek reconciliations after the war. His story is an account of both the grief of war and the peace that is possible through good work and forgiveness. VTV reporter Diệu Anh has the story.
My name's Daryl Perryman. I come back because I want to be helpful. And I want to contribute something to Vietnam after all the damage I did as a young, naive, but patriotic American. As I'm making my crossing, when I'm leaving this earth, I'm sure there'll be thoughts about Vietnam, and I hope they're good ones.
48 years ago, a ship carried Daryl Perryman, then a 21-year-old sojourn across the Pacific Ocean to fight in a land he knew nothing about. That country was Vietnam. Daryl is on his 17th trip to Vietnam, making a visit to Sa Thầy, Con Tum province, where he fought one of the toughest battles in his life.
In March of 1968, we encountered Battalion 209 of the People's Army of Vietnam. And there was a 3-day battle at a place called Sa Thầy. So that battle was a major point in my life. It was an incredibly difficult time for us. It was difficult for them. People were being, it was a lot of blood, and it was difficult. And it must have been horrendously difficult for the Vietnamese.
Here, Daryl and his old teammates met with Vietnamese veterans from Battalion 209. The meeting between survivors of different front lines can be overwhelming.
Thế bây giờ việc họ trở lại thì chiến tranh thì hết rồi nhưng mà mất thì
The
mất
war
nhiều
is
rồi.
now
Hôm
over.
nay đối với riêng
Though many
nhóm của bác,
Vietnamese
nhóm
died,
của các bạn ấy,
we think that
là
time has
được một
healed
tình bạn
the
của
pain,
người
and now
rất
we have a
thương người.
friendship that we have never thought possible before.
Khi trước các bác nghĩ đến.
During that battle, more than 200 Vietnamese soldiers fell, but today the old enemies could stand together with open arms.
Vietnamese people are very forgiving toward us Americans who came here and fought them, which, well, it really touches me that they're that way, that they could just accept us back as.
Daryl's first son, Benjamin, died of Agent Orange at 6. That's also why he now returns regularly to work with other veterans to support the suffering children from Vietnam. Their commitment to doing good work on the home ground of their former enemies is testament to the power of reconciliation, and the generous reception by their former enemies is testament to the human's capacity for forgiveness.
It is about healing. If I can do something good for the people that I tried to kill years ago who are no longer angry at me, then I'll feel like I've accomplished something. I don't want the last thought I have when I die to be a regret over what I did in Vietnam. If I have a thought about Vietnam before I die, I want it to be, I tried to do the right thing. I tried to make up for what I did.
Now, in other news, as part of the celebrations for the 40th anniversaries of Southern liberations and national reunification, many signature cultural activities have been held at the Vietnam National Village for ethnic cultures and tourism. Most notably, a typical market day in the mountainous regions of Vietnam has been recreated in the village, along with many signature folk songs and folk dance performances. This market is not only a place for merchants to exchange goods, but is also open for both domestic and foreign tourists, especially youngsters, to learn and experience the daily customs and traditions that are still maintained among the Vietnamese ethnic groups. From now until May 3rd, many other activities are scheduled to take place in the village, such as the Fire Dance Festival of the Giao people and the Goat Fighting Festival of the Hmong people in Hoàng Su Phi. And now it is time we take a look at the updated weather forecast. Now, the weather forecast has brought it to the end of VTV News. For more information and update, don't forget to log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go. As always, we appreciate your company and goodbye for now from Hanoi.